So let's see. What I wanted to talk about was this. They had a lot of announcements. Of course, Capcom Cup just happened, and EVO had their announcement lineup, and they talked a lot about what you can expect at the event this year. First one was obviously the lineup. So, coming from last year, you basically trade in Skullgirls and Multiverses for UMBC 3, and then you get a direct upgrade in Street Fighter 5 to Street Fighter 6. They announced also prize pool. $25,000 up for grabs for each individual title here for a total of, 200K prize pool. That's a pretty significant upgrade, and it addresses a lot of complaints that players have had about not just the EVO, right? A variety of fighting game events over the years. That's feedback that they took kind of to heart, and it's really cool to be able to see them respond in that way. You gotta remember also, in addition to this $25,000 per game too, by the way, that's a big deal for some of these titles. Games that maybe don't have the biggest tours or development in terms of their competitive infrastructure to be able to offer consistent, high prize money payouts like that. That's a big deal for a game like Melty Blood Type Lumina. That's a big deal for a game like KOF 15. That's a big deal for a game like Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 in 2023. There's just $25,000 up for grabs on a 10, 11-year-old game like that. That's pretty cool. That's great. That's crazy, right? But then also you got to remember EVO Japan. That's going to be happening in a month. There's another roughly $14,000 on Street Fighter 5, Guilty Gear Strive, Tekken 7, KOF, Melty Blood Type Lumina, and Virtua Fighter 5 US. And that game's even older than Marvel. So when you think about it, they're putting close to 40K on all these games between both events. That's pretty significant for some of these titles and some of these scenes. When you think about it, like I said, to me it's all about net positives and seeing about how the event improves and becomes better, right? There's already been some discussion, I think, from the player perspective. One of the other things that they talked about was that when it comes to stage time, they're going to be reducing top 8s down to top 6s. That's kind of got drawn a lot of ire, I think, from a lot of players, just because, if you're it's part of the player experience. It kind of artificially became that way, I think. Once upon a time, nobody gave a shit about top 8. Just kind of arbitrarily just came about as okay, EVO does top 8 now, so now everybody cares about it. But, when you take away, it's from a player perspective, that's 2 players who would be able to get, that stage time or that stage appearance, and it has some sense of, I think, maybe tradition or prestige. You see a lot of old players kind of upset about it. To me, it's not a huge deal. It's kind of unfortunate, but I'm also kind of open to seeing how it plays out like this. Prize money distribution is also another point of contention, I think, this year that a lot of people have been talking about. That 25K pool for each game is only going to the top 6 this year. There's some points, I think, for them to kind of have some conversations and address some feedback. But the big thing that I want to talk about for this year, and it pretty much is going to come down to attendance. And I think now we're hitting a point now on the COVID timeline where you're looking at this event in August. I think since we've had the EVO leadership changes, and since you've had now, it's a Sony product, you got to imagine that they're looking to try to get this thing back to higher numbers to be able to see it jump off that way, right? So what I want to talk about is, and what I want you to consider is this. Looking at this lineup, or here, we can even show you this. These are total players that attended the event. This isn't total attendees, mind you, but this is registered players. You can see an attendance breakdown of EVO over the years. Now, of course, this is pre-corona era, mind you. But what I want to draw your attention to is, of course, that 9,899 entrant year. That was, of course, the release year for Street Fighter 5, a 5,180-man tournament or something like that for Street Fighter 5, which currently has the record for the highest entrance of a game at EVO. You can see the next year, right, 2017, Street Fighter 5 loses half of its entrance. What happens to the overall players? And it slowly builds back up towards that, of course, right? But 2022, this was the first year that we held EVO in 2 or 3 years since, the corona pandemic. And it's looking like pretty much close to 2018 numbers. Now, pop back over to the lineup, and I want you to think about this. This is basically the same lineup as last year. You only traded in Skullgirls and Multiverses for UMBC 3. Street Fighter 5 to Street Fighter 6 is a direct upgrade. So what am I trying to say? I think if they really want this event to pop this year, Street Fighter 6 has got to be the game that's going to take this thing to the end zone. Another passive effect of a game like Street Fighter doing really well is I think you're going to see a lot of players that play multiple games are going to hop into Street Fighter, right? If there's any game that has a shot at cracking that Street Fighter 5 record of 5K entrants, you know, there's been some games that have come close over the years. You had Strive last year, they had 2.1K. DBFZ had 2.5K one year. Smash Ultimate 2019, they had, I think, 3.6K or something like that. Those games have kind of like been flirting with it, kind of coming close. I think if there's going to be a game that has a real shot at cracking that record, to be honest with you, I'm not even sold on like Project L. You know, that's like a far off thing. I think it's got to be Street Fighter 6. It's got to be right here, right now. You know, and there's some exceptions with games. You know, typically with a lot of these titles, as they go on, the amount of people that are competitively motivated to travel out to an EVO and compete in those games naturally decreases, right? So, with very few exceptions. You know, Tekken 7, for one, is an exception to that. From its release year in 2017 to 2018, I believe there was an increase, and then you kind of witnessed it as a byproduct of just overall the event having more interest in it and the event growing. But generally, games are going to have lower attendance over time. Because Street Fighter 6 is coming out in June, this event is going to be happening like 5 or 6 weeks after its launch. This is going to be a really big opportunity for, I think, just for Street Fighter 6 to really kind of like put this event on its back. I think if they want to get back up to like that 10K number or above 9,000 in terms of total players and people that are going to come out, it's probably got to be with this game. And it makes me interested to see what they do with Street Fighter 6 leading up to the event. You know, you got to remember those prize pool offerings are really good, but also at Capcom Cup, they just announced a $2 million prize pool for Street Fighter 6 CPT this year, which I am personally super surprised by. And, you know, there's a lot of lingering questions with that, too. Like, that prize pool, is that something that's just a release year? Are they going to try to preserve that? There's a lot of lingering questions in the air. I can't imagine that they do, but regardless, imagine that thrown on top of this and then thrown on top of a 7,000-man tournament. I don't really know what to even ballpark it on, but I know that people want to go to a big event. They want to travel. They want to go to something big. This is definitely going to be the year where I think you might see a game break that record, and it's got to come from Street Fighter 6. And also, I think having a big new Street Fighter game like this can definitely help some of these other titles, I think, preserve some of their numbers as well. You know, if I had to make my guesses right here, right now, assuming they're doing 4 games on Sunday, I'm expecting a 1-3-4 schedule because there's 8 titles. Personally, I could see the lowest probably being like MBTL KOF 15. I think UMBC3 could sneak in that morning Sunday slot. I think it definitely has a chance. And hey, let this be a challenge too. North American MBTL community, y'all got to show up and show out. MK11, I think y'all phony as hell, man. Prove me wrong, you know? Most of these titles, with the exception of KOF 15, they were within a couple hundred entrants of each other last year. I think UMBC3, the fact that everybody loves this game, you put 25K on it in 2023, I think it's kind of like a perfect storm. I could definitely see North Americans, Europeans, Japanese players riding super hard for this game this year. I think it has a real good shot. I think if this event is really going to get put over this year, you got to look at the stuff that's happening, man. They got Chipotle. Yo, fuck a Papa John's, man. Like, bro, we got Chipotle on the squad. You know that room is going to be smelling crazy, dude. People are going to be gaming, and we got the burrito bowls. That place is going to smell crazy. I think the event also it's got a higher bar now. It's got a higher standard. So I gotta imagine they're looking for this thing to kind of, you know, hit a different way in terms of attendance numbers, player registrants, all that stuff. And I think with that in mind, I think we got to be looking at Street Fighter 6 it's in everyone's best interest for Street Fighter 6 to do really well this year. I think Street Fighter 6 has got to be the game that's going to carry this event. So Street Fighter 6, show us what you got, man. I'll be booting up regardless. Not sure how seriously I'll play it. I'm not feeling like too competitively driven for it yet, but maybe that'll change as it gets closer. We'll see. But with that said, let me know what you guys think. What's on your mind with regards to this EVO lineup or anything like that we've talked about so far. But let me know in the comments below, and I'll holler at you guys later.